Episode 6, Jane's Past, The Lost Rune and the Return of Zarathuth. Boren's face was pale as parchment. Zarithul, he whispered. I know that name. The others turned to him, tension thick in the air. They called him the Magic Eater, Boren continued, his voice barely above a whisper. He doesn't just resist magic, he feeds on it. He grows stronger when attacked with it, and he devours magic wielders. My grandfather told me stories, horror stories. When Zarathuth walked the earth, he left nothing but death in his wake. Boren swallowed hard, his gaze distant, haunted. Entire cities burned. Wizards, sorcerers, even the most powerful archmages, none could stand against him. Every spell they cast only made him stronger. He drained the magic from the land itself, turning once thriving kingdoms into desolate wastelands. It took the combined might of the ancient magic councils to imprison him, and even they barely succeeded. Rune looked stricken. And now they're trying to bring him back? Who do we tell? Whistle asked, voice trembling. Who would believe us? Jane stared down at the rune on her wrist, the eerie glow now faint, but ever present. And what do I have to do with this? She murmured. The wizard in the tavern tightened his grip on his staff, his drink forgotten. The candle flames around him flickered wildly, trembling as if disturbed by an unseen breath. The name Zarithul echoed in his mind, a whisper of doom carried on the very fabric of magic itself. The patrons leaned forward, breathless, waiting for him to continue. But the wizard knew this was not just a story. This was the beginning of something far greater, something that would soon spill beyond the pages of legend and into the waking world. Jane was at the heart of it all. Whether she knew it yet or not, her path had been set, and the forces moving against her were already gathering their strength. Somewhere, deep in the night beneath the very academy where she had come to learn, a terrible secret had been unearthed, and the world would never be the same again. The next day they attended their classes, but focus was impossible. Each lecture felt distant, muffled, as if they were hearing through a thick veil of fog. Every glance Jane caught from her friends carried silent questions, growing wariness. Who was she? The tension reached a breaking point in their magical history class. The topic of the day, rune magic, and its role in the war against demons. The professor, a wiry old scholar named Malthus Greer, paced the front of the room, gesturing animatedly as he spoke. Rune magic was the only force that proved effective against demonic entities, he declared. But among all known runes, there was a particular set, a set of immense power. It was this set that sealed away the greatest terror the world has ever known. Jane stiffened. She could feel the eyes of Whistle, Rune, and Boren on her. Zarithul, Greer continued, his voice dropping into a solemn tone. The ancient enemy, the Magic Eater. The runes that bound him were powerful, but also dangerous. For while they could imprison him, they could also bring him back. To ensure that never happened, the runes were destroyed, their knowledge erased, and the only family capable of wielding them was lost to history. Jane's breath caught in her throat. The only family gone? Rune leaned closer to her, whispering, But you have the rune. Which means your family wasn't wiped out, Whistle added, voice hushed but urgent. Boren rubbed his temples, and that means someone either lied about it or didn't know the truth. Jane swallowed hard, gripping her wrist where the rune lay, hidden beneath her sleeve. We need to find out who I am, she whispered, and what this means. Their minds raced through possibilities. Could there be other survivors? Had someone hidden the truth about her family? Or worse, Was someone deliberately trying to keep her existence a secret? As the day wore on, they found it impossible to focus on anything else. They met in the library after class, poring over ancient texts, searching for any reference to the lost rune-wielding family. The library's candlelight flickered as they flipped through pages of forbidden history. Each passage revealed grim details, accounts of warriors wielding the rune's power in battle, legends of their line vanishing after Zarithul's imprisonment, and warnings of the dangers should a fragment of the rune remain. "I don't understand," Jane muttered, running a hand through her hair. "If my family was meant to be wiped out, why was I spared?" "Maybe you weren't," Boren said darkly, tapping a finger on the parchment. "Maybe someone hid you, and whoever did might have had a reason." A shiver ran down Jane's spine. "Or maybe someone wants me to bring Zarathul back." A heavy silence fell over them. The thought was chilling. If the rune could restore Zarathul, then someone might have been waiting for the right person to wield it, and that person was her. That night, sleep did not come easy. Jane lay awake in her dormitory, the rune on her wrist pulsing faintly. Whistle was pacing, nervous energy keeping him from resting. Boren had buried himself in ancient tomes, scouring for anything that might reveal the truth. Ran sat by the window, staring into the darkness, lost in thought. "If my family was supposed to be gone," Jane said quietly, breaking the silence, "why am I here? Why do I have this rune?" Boren didn't look up from his book. "That's what we need to find out." A knock at the door sent a jolt through them all. Ran grabbed his dagger, and Whistle instinctively reached for his wand. Jane, heart hammering, slowly opened the door. Professor Aldrin stood in the dimly lit hallway, his face grim. "Come with me," he said. "Now." The four exchanged glances, but obeyed. They followed Aldrin through the winding corridors of the academy, past empty classrooms and candle-lit halls. He led them down a spiral staircase that seemed older than the academy itself, the stone walls lined with carvings of ancient battles, wizards locked in struggle against shadowy horrors. At the bottom, Aldrin pressed his palm against the wall. Runes flared, and a hidden door creaked open. Beyond it lay a vast chamber, its ceiling lost in darkness. At its center, a massive stone tablet was covered in glowing script, and Jane's rune was etched among them. "What is this place?" she breathed. Aldrin turned to her, eyes sharp. "The last records of the war against Zarithul, and the key to understanding your past." A shadow shifted in the darkness. They were not alone. A whisper echoed through the chamber, low and chilling. The flickering torchlight cast eerie shadows on the walls. Jane's pulse quickened. Something ancient and patient was waiting in the darkness, watching them. Aldrin inhaled sharply, his voice barely above a whisper. "Be ready. You were never meant to find this place."